the governor of Anambra State, Professor Soludo of Anambra State, presented a 258.97 billion 2023 budget to the State House of Assembly. The governor made a presentation of the budget, which he titled Budget of Acceleration. He said it recorded a raise from the 170 billion revised 2022 budget presented by the governor in May. Now the presentation is said to have embodied his administration's single-minded focus and determination to continue to press the accelerator pedals in spite of the risky bumps on the way. He says, quote, "Ours is an agenda with a deadline, and there will be no excuses." That's according to Governor Soludo. And Professor Soludo joins us live from Awka, the Anambra State capital. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for joining us tonight. And I must condone your state and the people of Anambra State on that tragic incident in Onitsha at a chemical market. But I guess it's fair for us to ask what is the latest? As of the last time, 4 people dead, 12 injured, and over 850 million worth of properties were destroyed. What did we learn from that, and what are the latest or the updates from that incident?
Well, thank you very much for having me, Shell. And are you hearing me?
I can hear you. Please, sir, go ahead. Please, sir, go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much for having me. That's really a very unfortunate incident that happened 2 days ago at the open drug market at Onitsha. And as you well know, that's about the largest open drug market in the world. And an explosion, I think maybe one of the shop owners there had imported some explosives and so on, and then the process of offloading that, it exploded and bringing down buildings, and then inferno that followed. Lives have been lost, and properties still to get a full assessment of the full extent of the damage. We've cordoned off much of the place, put out the fire, and trying now to have a full assessment, and also to design the road ahead. But that particular incident is one too many, one of the major shocks we have had in the year, and convinces us about the decision we had taken sometime in June this year to actually launch the construction of an alternative market that meets the international standards for where you can keep drugs and so on. I think that particular open drug market is long overdue for closure, and I'm glad that NAFDAC and the Pharmaceutical Association of Nigeria and everybody, all the medical operators, agree that that place, that location, is not proper, fit and proper for drugs for human consumption, so to speak. And this particular incident just reconvinces us that we are moving in the right direction, and movement to Oba as the alternative place where you have a consolidated drug center that is being constructed is the way to go. But in the meantime, our hearts are with the victims, and especially, and all victims, the innocent ones who never knew anything about it. But we are still to get the full extent of the damage, and the government will be responding, trying to see how far we can go in condoling the victims and assisting some of those who have lost, well, totally their sources of livelihood, whether we could have some palliative measures. But on a more fundamental level, we are determined to relocate that market from that location.
Right. Let's get into the matter of the budget which you presented today. 258 billion, that's the budget you presented. Your predecessor, Governor Obiano left with a budget of 2022, 141 billion, which you raised to 170 billion, 258 billion compared to 141 billion. That is perhaps almost 100% jump from the initial budget mark, the total budget cap that you had the last time. What is responsible for this?
Well, I must say that an approximate size of about 260 billion naira budget for Anambra, for the size of the economy of Anambra, an economy of about 5.5 trillion, meaning that we have a budget size of less than 5% of our income or GDP of the state, 4-point-something%. And compared to the needs of Anambra, compared to the fact that we've got the total infrastructure decay, what I call the road and traffic crisis, our transport system is one a major crisis, and most people in Anambra agree. Even when I was campaigning, we did acknowledge that we had a road crisis, and that if elected, I was going to declare a state of emergency on roads and so on. Given the 5 fingers of our agenda of the Soludo Solution Manifesto, our contract with the Anambra people, and the need to deliver on those, to be honest with you, 500 billion, 1 trillion might still be even, I mean, if we were to have 500 billion or 1 trillion to tackle those, that will begin to even scratch it. As I mentioned in my budget speech, still though small, relative to need and relative to our size, but we are determined, we are moving in measured steps to give our people value while keeping our eyes on fiscal sustainability. We don't want our public finances to get to a point of fiscal insolvency. So we're taking very calculated steps. But again, there is also another point to make, and which is, when you are looking at the size in nominal terms, it doesn't quite fully convey the full import of the moment that we live. It's been disruptive moments. Prices have been escalating. If you look at what it costs, you know, a ton of bitumen or a ton of asphalt a few months ago or even a year ago, and now it's hundreds of % increase. If you take in terms of what it costs, for example, to provide even the most basic services, how much was it costing to have a liter of diesel a year ago or even some 8 months ago versus what it costs today? So if you were to take that in nominal terms, to be honest with you, that's quite not a very significant increase, as a matter of fact. And we're being drawn by the you know, fiscal constraints of our capacity to raise internally generated revenue, which we devoted quite a significant portion of the budget addressing. And we're desirous to get that addressed in the coming years. To be able, our target is to raise our IGR to the level of 3 to 5%, which might begin to get us, you know, something, you know, a little bit moderate, but I mean, in the long term, up to 10 or more % of our GDP. But the focus of the budget, as we call it, budget of acceleration, designed to continue to press the accelerator despite all the risky bumps. We've done quite a lot this year. Insecurity, and we're trying to take back our state. You look at the flooding with its massive devastation. Anambra is the gully erosion capital of Africa, if not the world, and we're having landslides and villages being, I mean, under the erosion stuff, and we're battling at all levels, environmental degradation that need to be rebuilt, infrastructure, and our schools, hospitals. Like we said, in the next few days, we'll be handing out more than 5,000 employment letters to teachers to end an era of schools without teachers, and 240-something doctors, consultants, and so on to man our general hospitals, and so on and so forth. So if you look at the 5 fingers of our program, we've designed this budget to keep our eyes on the ball. The security, law and order, number 1, transforming our economy from largely informal to an industrial, leisure, tech hub. The third is our social agenda that helps to build the human capital, which has our greatest resource, that is productive at home and exportable abroad. Then you get onto the issue of our governance, transparency, prudence, accountable governance, and finally the environment, which is Anambra's existential threat.
All right. So
if you look at our budget carefully, yes.
Yeah, I was going to jump in quickly
along these lines and to address these pressing priorities of our people, including, never forget, empowerment for our youths, women, and the vulnerable groups, which demographics must never.
If I'm right, there's about 13 billion deficit in that budget you presented already from the books and the report that we gleaned on. It's about 100 billion naira debt that the last administration left for your government, and you were seeking. You said it would take you need about 250 billion naira as loan for infrastructure. You approached the assembly for 100 billion naira loan. If you put all of those together in this infrastructure and the current situation of the economy, the question is the state going much into debt now? 100 billion left by the last administration. You're getting 100 billion more. You said you perhaps will be needing 150 billion more. How will the state be able to sustain paying back all of these debts?
Let me help you. That is an area that I understand a few things about. And as I said a moment ago, the reason you find that size for the moment is that we are keeping our eye on fiscal sustainability. We've run our numbers, our debt service. Yes, I inherited not 100 billion, I inherited over 100 billion in debt, and we're getting onto that 100 billion, not even counting the huge contractor debt and pension arrears and so on and so forth, which we have also begun to address. We began to pay our pensioners their gratuities, which weren't paid in 4 years. We began to, pay some of the contractors. We're gradually paying all of this. But if you look at the aggregate debt service obligations of the state, we're one of the lowest, evidently, in the country. And I will tell you today, given the efforts we're making with regards to our IGR, our debt service obligations will be well less than 50%. In fact, way less than 50% of our IGR. Not to talk about other receipts that we expect. So we are tightly walking that road. I am one of those who advocate for fiscal responsibility and for us to manage within our bounds. And we have been extremely, very prudent in the way we manage resources here. And that's why we've been able to flag up.
I was going to ask
that's why we've been able to flag off.
Former Governor Peter Obi has talked so much about how much of prudence that he introduced into the governance in Anambra State, and perhaps that could be a very good standard, because globally there is a caution on the cost of governance, and perhaps what experts have said that governance in Nigeria, leaders need to look into cutting cost of governance. Would the Peter Obi template be working for you? Are you doing more than that? Are you looking in that direction?
I don't know about Peter Obi's template. I'm pursuing Soludo's template, which is Soludo's template that it takes about, producing results by being accountable and prudent. It's not, we don't save money for the sake of saving money. Saving money is not an output. It's not an outcome by itself. We put money to produce value for our people If you don't have something to spend money on, then save it. But if you have something, you can't have your people in the hospital dying and you say you are saving money and so on, and poverty is escalating and so on and so forth. Now, our own fiscal prudence is to be able to cut down waste. We've cut down the cost of governance. We've cut down all manner of, we say boycott all boycottables and cut all cuttables. And I give you an illustration. When I assumed office, it was costing about 137 million a month on what you might call those cleaning offices and so on and so forth, various contractors providing services to clean offices, government offices. 137 million a month. We've cut down and negotiated until we've drilled it down. It now costs 11 million naira a month. That's a savings of about 126 million every month. That's the kind of thing that we're doing. Purchase of expensive, outlandish equipments and so on. I'm here at the governor's lodge. We haven't changed one piece of furniture. We haven't bought anything new. It's just what we inherited. Office of First Lady, this, and we don't have that. We haven't bought even a bicycle for for use by my wife or something like that. We've kept it nimble. We've kept it focused, fit for purpose kind of government. We're energizing and enabling technology to work.
So let me quickly jump in again. Apologies, Mr. Governor. There was some investment, and perhaps because this is an area in which you are very known for, investment. I mean, what's your own perspective in a government investing outside of public sector? Because, and I'm making another reference to former Governor Peter Obi of Anambra State, who has talked about how much of investment is made with the resources of the Anambra State government to bring back profit and benefit of to the Anambra people. By the way, what has become of that investment, and are you looking in that direction also?
I don't know why you're turning the interview about Peter Obi.
No, I'm just making reference because these are I made reference to former Governor Obi and not to.
Interview is about my 2023 budget. I'm not talking about the investments of either any of my predecessors. By the way, the one that you talk about, I don't know about that. I mean, I think there was something I read about, somebody speculated about the value of whatever investment. What I've seen today, the value of those investments is worth next to nothing. So let's leave that aside. Let's focus on the kind of thing that first of all, you got to rebuild the public infrastructure. That is building for the future. We're investing in our schools. We're investing in our hospitals. We're investing in those. We're creating Anambra as Africa's leisure entertainment hub. That's what we are, modernizing our cities, and backing on our urban regeneration, giving our people life so that they can have quality air to breathe, controlling pollution, dealing with flooding, dealing with erosion that is ravaging everywhere, and so on and so forth. We're not going to leave those. I'm going to say I'm saving money to go and invest in one private company. And by the way, when you talk about investment, that's an area that I think I know one or two things, and I have been able to do that. We're now transforming Anambra State Investment Promotion and Protection Agency, which is an institution which my predecessor established. That's part of institutionalizing government, and not I and so on. It's the institution of ANSEPA that is the vehicle for Anambra investing in partnership with the private sector. Now I'm taking ANSEPA to the next level. We're now trying to reform ANSEPA to have a financing arm and to become the Anambra Development Corporation. I know what it is, and we'll be working with international development financial institutions, including the AFC, the Afrexim, and the others. And we're going to bring in we're going to be able to fund bankable projects, private-public partnership, projects, whether it's in infrastructure, whether it is in pure private goods, and so on and so forth. We'll be able to leverage these institutions and assets that we have, our balance sheet, and the knowledge and our network that we have around the world, to be able to leverage some hundreds of millions of dollars in investments, not directly into public infrastructure and so on and so forth. So when you talk about investment, investment is not about going to invest in bakery. That's not what the government is about. Because if the bakery goes down, then your investment goes down with it. You've got to invest in the future.
All right, now, Governor,
I
have just two quick questions. And one is in the area of security. I bet you that you perhaps did not imagine the magnitude of the challenges you perhaps met in office that you saw, and the manner in which things are flowing. What are your own view or your own ideas of resolving permanently, of course, some of the security challenges that you met on the ground? And because you are not isolated, you will be talking about a regional solution also into some of it. You and your colleague governors in the Southeast perhaps are looking in that direction. But give us an idea. What do you think can best fix the issue of insecurity that will make the people of Anambra sleep with their two eyes closed?
Well, I think first sentence is that relative to where it was when I came, and relative to where we are, I can bet you that most people in Anambra are sleeping with their two eyes closed. There was heightened insecurity. It used to be a daily thing, killing here and there. Before I came in, there's not anything that I saw that I say I didn't expect. The only thing is that you never know the full details until you are on this seat and you get security reports every day, as the case may be. I come from Anambra South. One of my local government is in the South. And you know that I was personally attacked in the broad daylight when I was, meeting with youths. They came to kill me, basically. And none of us, no candidate could campaign in the entire Anambra South then. Even one of the candidates of Labour Party then, Basimalo, is still missing. And so on. Nobody could campaign in the 7 local governments, plus Obaru, in those. That's the state of things. And these criminals were in about 15 camps. And I can tell you today that it's not safe for them anywhere. They've been smoked out in almost all of those places today.
All right, Mr. Governor, so because we need to wrap up the conversation, but if you help me, just in 30 seconds, it might be unfair to a part of me that wants to learn some economics to listen to your view on this. I'm very sure as a governor, you'll be preparing what your friend, the CBN governor, has announced the policy of redesigning the Naira, and he's told everybody that we should be prepared, that in the next couple of weeks that we'll have new Naira notes. How much of the preparation are you having in Anambra? So give us your view on the redesigning of the Naira, a good timing or bad timing. In 30 seconds, Mr. Governor, if you may.
Thank you very much. Again, the last time you tried something and I told you, you're not going to push me. I'm not going to be, as a former governor of Central Bank, I resist and I will resist you commenting on the policies of my successor in office, in whatever form, in whatever way you put it. Anambra will respond as appropriate. Whatever circumstances that rolled out from the center, the monetary authorities, the fiscal authorities at the center, whatever thing they decide and throw up, and that is a national policy, be sure that Anambra will appropriately adjust and respond. And so we have no problem with that. And by the way, in my own time, I got the Naira redesigned. Just to make this point, I redesigned the 5, the 10, the 20 and 50 naira denominations, and we got them in polymer, or at least 5, 10, and 20 in polymer, and then got some of the others 10 and so 50 redesigned. So it's not anything new, and I also introduced the 1,000 naira note. So it's certainly within the purviews of the central bank to do that, to redesign notes from time to time. Might be for its security features, it might be some other considerations, as the case may be. But I'm not here to speculate about to comment on the substance of the policy itself.
All right. Governor, Professor, I mean, sometimes it's difficult to now put my hands on which one to call you. A former CBN governor, professor, sitting governor, but whichever one. My very good friend, Professor Charles Soludo, thank you so much, Governor, for talking to us.
Just Mr. Governor is enough.
But I won't take your academic title away from you. You deserve it. Professor Soludo, thank you so much indeed.
That's it. Mr. Governor is enough.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
You know, Shehu,
yeah.
Shehu, you know, I don't go with this. Shehu,
yeah.
You know, when you were starting, I said, I don't go with this His Excellency thing. I don't go with the executive governor thing. I'm just Mr. Governor, period. Right. And that's all. That's all I am. And then if you like, as our people here, the locals will call me Charlie Mwambwafo. Charlie, the son of Mwambwafo.
Oh, Charlie, the son of Mwambwafo. I mean, you've not told me that. I mean, you just telling me the meaning for the first time today. Thank you so much, Charlie Mwambwafo, if I got it right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Mwambwafo.
Oh,
no. That's one I'll give you a tutorial on that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.